Joining us now is Sheitan Atigarin with stories trending around the world. Hello, Sheitan.
Good morning, Doctor. Always a pleasure to see you. Good morning, Ayo.
Good morning, Sheitan.
Yesterday, sunshine yellow, today, fiery red.
Fiery red.
I love it.
The bright colors this week.
And Rufai, good morning. Good morning. How are you doing? All right, then. Good morning to you, viewers. Here are some of the stories that are trending across the globe. Thousands of residents in Maiduguri, Borno state capital, and parts of Jere local government area are now stranded and displaced following the collapse of the dike and overflow of Alau Dam, which is about 10 kilometers away from the metropolis. The incident has so far consumed many communities, including the Shehu's Palace, Monday Market, Post Office area, Gwanje, Moro Customs Bridge, Bulabulin, and the Sanda Karimi Park Zoo, among others. Officials have also stated that 80% of the animals in their large zoo housing wildlife, from lions and crocodiles to buffaloes and ostriches, had been killed, and some deadly animals have been washed away to the communities like crocodiles and snakes, urging residents to take precautions. Meanwhile, Vice President Kashim Shettima visited the flooded palace of the Shehu of Borno yesterday to assess the impact of the recent devastating floods in Maiduguri.
Your Eminence, we are here at the directive of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to commiserate with the government and people of Borno State, most especially His Excellency the Governor, and Your Eminence the Father of the State, over the very catastrophic flooding incident this morning that devastated a greater chunk of Maiduguri metropolis. The President has directed us to come along with the Minister of Agriculture, with the DG of NEMA, and the Federal Commissioner for Refugees Commission. And I equally in turn requested our members of the National Assembly and our Deputy National Chairman to accompany us to come and solidarize with the government and people of Borno State and Your Eminence over the sad incident.
Meanwhile, following President Bola Tinubu's call for the immediate evacuation of people from the affected areas, the Nigerian army received commendations from residents of Maiduguri for their support during the recent flood that ravaged communities in the city. Residents say the army's support is timely and had led to the saving of lives of victims of the flood. During this evacuation, the Nigerian army personnel were seen at various locations providing support to victims of the disaster. Let's take a look. Well, yesterday this report came in very devastating, but thankfully we're seeing the Nigerian military, of course, stepping in, and the commendations online and even just in the nation have been amazing. I mean, you can see them there just making sure that they could take all the victims to temporary camps just to make sure that they are safe, from the flooding. Starts with you, Dr. Abati.
Okay, disaster management is one of the responsibilities of government. Looking out for the welfare of the people in peace and difficult times is part of the responsibility of government. One of the major criticisms against the Nigerian government is that the Nigerian government often fails to stand up to be counted when the people need them. But this seems to be an exception in this particular case, hence the commendation that you referred to. In other parts of the world, the kind of evacuation effort that the Nigerian military, made available immediately, that's how it's done. And it's good to see, the Nigerian military responding almost immediately to this emergency. It's not just the Nigerian military, also the National Emergency Management Agency and the federal government also providing internally displaced persons camp. We hope that at those internally displaced persons camps, adequate provision will be made for the welfare and the upkeep, and rehabilitation of these affected persons in Borno State. Well, from what has been reported, it looks like a big tragedy. But, the federal government also responded immediately in the person of the vice president representing President Tinubu. Now, the vice president was in very familiar territory. He was governor of that state, 2011 to 2019. He was senator, Borno Central, from 2019 to 2023, when he became a vice president of Nigeria. But it's not about identification with his people. It's about the promptitude with which the federal government responded. It's also the, empathy that the vice president demonstrated. Look at the vice president of Nigeria there, wading with the people through the waters to show that, look, you, my people, we are in this together, and we understand your pain, we understand how you feel. He has experienced it. When he speaks to the people, they will say, well, we saw the vice president also, identify with us in our hour of great need. But beyond that is to ask the question, how did this flooding come about? We were told that the Alua Dam overflowed its embankments, due to torrential heavy rainfall. The question to ask is, could this have been foreseeable? Because every year we have this kind of situation. If it is not Lagdo Dam overflowing its embankments, it is Ogunshun River Dam, Onyon Dam, also creating this kind of situation. We have had this in Borno State. Nigerian government should not wait until we will come tomorrow and they will say Lagdo Dam has been opened up at the Cameroonian end and there will be flooding. We should not wait till they say Onyon Dam has overflowed its banks and communities will be affected. Now, the cost of negligence is that it is measured in terms of the pain inflicted on the people. That's why I say the question to be asked is, could this have been avoided? And that is why, going beyond all the efforts that have been made, there should be investigations. There should be a high-powered investigation into the root causes of this regular, overflowing of embankments by dams in Nigeria. And there will be a lot to be done in terms of environmental action, and the federal government should go beyond this laudable demonstration of empathy to see how the people can be helped to return to normal life.
Very fantastic points there, Dr. Ruben.
All right.
Ayo?
So having spoken about Vice President Kashim Shettima, and I thought that video, if this is the kind of video they should promote as a government, to see when government actually identifies with the people. A lot has been said with regards to the investment that has to be made to rehabilitate or resettle people who have been affected by this flood. We see look at the footage where people are sitting in corners, the state hospital, just look at the devastation there. The Shehu of Maiduguri also just affected in that manner. But I think in West Africa, not just Nigeria, we've had to grapple with the effects of flash floods and floods like this, and there has to be investment in prevention and resettlement. Beyond that is the impact of the Nigerian army. A lot of times, sometimes the Nigerian army receives knocks, but I must say that at this point, they ought to get the accolade that they deserve. They were able to respond swiftly and were able to at least rescue people and minimizing the number of casualties that would have been experienced here. I have to mention that the current Chief of Defense Staff, General C.G. Musa, actually met him in Maiduguri. So he was once theater commander there. So this must also be something that would really be... It will touch him, aside from his position as CDS, but also the fact that he also served in that space. He worked to the community there. They tried to restore peace, order following terrorism activities in Maiduguri, and to see that having recorded some level of success in Maiduguri, to see now devastation by natural causes. He's called for support and that people, as many people as possible, beyond the rescue efforts, but also investment and money is being going there to ensure that we don't see situations where too many people are displaced, are unable to go back into resettlement in their community. But our hearts go out to the people in Maiduguri and Borno State as a whole.
Very well said. Ayo, Rufai, your thoughts?
I'd like to commend the military and Vice President Shetima. That's being with the people in time of crisis.
Yes.
I think the military should be commended heavily. When they do good, we say they have done good. When they don't do good, we say they've not done it. So please, the military should also note that the day they go astray, that's how we condemn them. So I commend them. Vice President Shetima, too, you have done to feel what the people are feeling. Yeah. But I would like to berate the Nigerian government for negligence and for this lack of planning. The dam was built between 1984 to 86. The climatic condition of an area is the sum total of weather conditions over a period of time. Between 25 to 30 years, that's the geography definition. We know that at this point in the year, we normally will have these floods, increase in water that will seep into the river Ngada, that seeps into that dam. This exact incident happened on the 13th of September, 1994. Today, where are we? 10th, 11th.
11th of September.
So you know around this time, when the rains are heavy, the climatic conditions have not really predominantly changed, even despite the fact global warming. You know there's going to be heavy outpour. What did we do to solidify the dam? And apart from this, what is the integrity of all the dams in Nigeria? We keep talking about Lado Dam and all of that. In fact, I was talking to a very dear friend of mine, I call her my sister, Rukayat El-Rufai, where she is the special advisor in the office of the vice president, where they chair the committee on flood projections. And they knew things like this were going to happen in the course of the year. In fact, they said many states were going to be affected, Anambra and the likes. What are we doing to be able to forestall those situations? If you check Google now, there's a current flood alert going on around KB and the Sokoto area, the rivers around there. There's going to be heavy torrential rainfall. What are we doing as regards planning? We can use AI to predict weather patterns. We can use that to also plan and secure. So what I would say is we should check through all of our dams today. The dams that are not well secured, probably we should do a proper embankment on those dams. Rather than crying and say, oh, humanitarian, we could have looked at this properly.
All right, then have to be proactive. Let's move on now to our next story. A poultry farmer by the name of Akomolafe Bankole has accused officials of the Federal Capital Development Authority of demolishing his 150 million naira poultry farm in local Goma, Abuja. In a series of posts on his X account, Bankole shared videos of the destruction, revealing that over 5,000 birds died and 50 workers lost their jobs due to the demolition, which he said was carried out without prior notice or warning. Sharing the videos, he wrote, "I am heartbroken and angry. Yesterday, my 150 million naira investment in a poultry farm located in Logoma was destroyed by the people from the Federal Capital Development Authority." Let's take a look.
See, all these chickens will eventually die. About 5,000 is dead now because this one has already exposed to water. I will still have smaller ones. So you can see you have destroyed all the buildings. More than 150 million naira worth of materials and properties. if you have lived the livestock, you see some inside the container, they cannot survive because they're already on top of each other. This is not really nice. It's not really nice. It's not nice at all. There's no human face in this.
Now, according to Bankole, all necessary papers, including the certificate of occupancy, were obtained before establishing the farm, just making this a demolition, as he's described, an unjust act. And, you know, for me, I was thinking about that even if, let's say, for some reason, he was at fault, how about you just seize the property? They're sharing palliative rice. The people need chicken to go with the rice. Share the rice and share the chicken. At least people will eat it. But destroying it, I don't understand. Dr. Abati.
Well, I think Nigeria happened to Mr. Bankole. And when Nigeria happens to many people, this is what you see. The regret, the grief, the pain, the anguish, will attend, is what will attend that particular experience. What is important here is that he said, one, he was not given notice. That's one. Number two, that he has all his papers intact and got all his approvals. Even if then, the point that he made at the end of that video is that this is not, treating somebody with a human face. Could he have been treated differently? At a time when there's a lot of hunger in the land, and people are talking about food insecurity, this is a man who has gone into agriculture, the poultry end of it, to provide food, to provide protein for people, even if it is a business, and then all of that is destroyed. 5,000 birds were, destroyed. Number two, 50 people, 50 workers, who are working for him will lose their jobs. So in other words, it's not about Mr. Bankole alone. Nigeria has also happened to the 50 workers who are involved in that business. What we say is that, yes, the law is a law, but those who apply and enforce the law should also, at the same time, do so with a human face. He has lost 150 million naira worth of investment. In this Tinubu's Nigeria, where inflation is more than 30%, it's a very sad story. But if there is any, reprieve that is possible, that is possibly available to Mr. Bankole, you should talk to his lawyers, and they should take it from there.
Right, then I know you wanted to comment on this, if you can, very quickly before we go to the next story.
Very quickly to say that it's very sad that when country is hard, no be small. Dr. I think that's my line for the week, his article yesterday, and people are angry. To now see such footage where people are going to bed hungry, we see chickens dead because of it's provocative. This, like you mentioned, could have easily have been handled properly. You said something about a human face, even when you're trying to enforce, especially where things are very difficult for Nigerians. I think that's where the big challenge is. A lot of people are talking about him online that, he supported the Lagos demolitions. He's not against the law taking its course. It is how it is done, and that is what we've often talked about. We have to put a human face to things, and even the way we carry out things in Nigeria. I hope you'll be compensated one way or the other.
Definitely. Well, let's move on to our last story today on what's trending. The Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, NIDCOM, have launched an investigation into the alleged detention of Nigerians in an unknown prison in Libya. This comes after a viral video surfaced yesterday showing hundreds of women and children locked inside a compound pleading for freedom. The video has since sparked widespread concern, with the protesters claiming that nationals from other countries had fled the area, leaving only Nigerians behind. Let's take a look at the video. This is sad, really, when you think about this. I mean, there has been a comment that has gone out by the chairman and the CEO of NIDCOM, Abike Dabiri, but I want to hear your thoughts. Rufai, let's start with you.
Okay, things like this, I think, is reflective of the rights of Nigerians. But in as much as we want to blame NIDCOM, you can't also blame DITCON entirely because you don't know the circumstance of travel of these people. But you expect their nation to come through for them at a time like this. There's been a lot of advocacy against this across the Sahara Desert way of jackbuying. And because we know the after effects, it comes to things like this. There are some organized crime group in Libya that'll take them into custody, that'll use them for training, sometimes even get some of them killed. We'd like to advise, please, whatever the hardship is, do not go through routes like this. And that's why we also call on the government to make the economy a whole lot better for people. Because this kind of migration is very sad and indicative of the failings of our nation and government, but also the people too will also share blame. I don't have the data. I would have loved to see, maybe in the 70s when the Nigerian economy was thriving, we had migration through the borders like this. I would love to see that data, but I'm not sure it's going to be up to the extent. For the man that his property was damaged, like Dr. Batiana has said rightly, Nigeria happens to all of us. But you know, it pretty much reminds me of a song from Fela Kuti, when government came to demolish his property and burnt up his stuff because they were against him. And I think they had that raid on Kalakuta. And he sang one song very famously. He said, na di bon, na in the sweetie dem pass. Oh ya, bon, oh ya, barara, oh ya, bon, oh ya, barara, na di bon, na in the sweetie dem pass. Na the demolition, na in the sweet government. Our government has no element of human face. All we see from government towards the people is pure wickedness. That's it. Wickedness. Like you said rightly. What was the human face? Couldn't you have said, okay, let's rescue the business. Let's salvage the business, even if you have anything with land. But they will come, they demolish. Then leave sorrow, tears, and blood, then regular trade mark. Change governments.
Ayo. Well, it's a fella morning today, but for Honorable Abike Dabiri, she'd said that at some time they had to evacuate up to 10,000 Nigerians from Libya. But again, it is a reflection of the hardship whereby people would rather take on very dangerous routes to escape and just find a way to make ends meet. At the end of the day, if the nation works, if government is working, if the economy is sound, we would see a reduction in the number of people who would rather be slaves in another country than remain in their country because of how bad things are. But it also shows that it's not always going on the other side. Very sad. I hope they'll get them back in one piece.
Okay, when a country faces unusual hardship, as it happened to the Irish people at the turn of the 19th century, they will run away to where they think they will find opportunities. The Irish potato farmer and all of that, you know, oppression from England and all of that. Nigeria is at that point now. Everybody is trying to run away. They think it's better somewhere else. You cannot stop people from responding to their basic instincts as human beings. However, Nigerians need to be educated that illegal migration has its own risks. In that facility, they are in a holding facility. Look at the very, you know, the status quo in which those Nigerians are. You have all been talking about Mrs. Abike Dabiri Erewa of NIDCOM, where the Minister of Women Affairs, Mrs. Uju Kennedy, should also be told that our Nigerian sisters are in that holding facility in Libya. And also the Minister of Foreign Affairs. I don't know whether we have an ambassador in Libya at the moment, but the Minister of Foreign Affairs should also step in to see how, you know, these persons can be evacuated, you know, through diplomatic channels. But Nigerians are probably better off staying in their own country. And government has a responsibility to make this environment a livable environment for all of us, not just the people who are migrating illegally, including those of us who are here.
Who have chosen to remain here. Well, that's all I have for you today on What's Trending. See you tomorrow.